Hello. We made it to week 5. This week I just want to touch just for a second on punctuation. But before I jump off of that, I just want to tell you about 2 tools that I have included in the class for you. The first one is a writing checklist. It's a list that you can go down and look at all the different things that you might need to use or not use in your paper. For instance, did you know that you should write out every number that is under 100, unless it's percentage, a date, or money? So that is on this checklist. So use that checklist to kind of edit your paper. It can really help you out. The other thing that I've included for you is an academic writing 101 sheet that can kind of help you to know how to write a paper. You may have got this paper way back in PD 340, but just in case, I want to make sure that you have access to this. So grab that too. That can really help you out. All right, so punctuation. Punctuation actually can make you or break you. People don't realize that, but it's very true. I'm going to read a letter. This was actually published, and I'm going to read it the way the punctuation is supposed to be, and then I'm going to read it the way they actually published it, where the punctuation was changed, the entire meaning of the same thing. It is exactly the same words in both letters. The only thing that has changed is the punctuation. Look what happens. Dear John, I want a man who knows what love is all about. You are generous, kind, thoughtful. People who are not like you admit to being useless and inferior. You have ruined me for other men. I yearn for you. I have no feelings whatsoever when we're apart. I can be forever happy. Will you let me be yours? Gloria. All right, so here we are. Dear John, I want a man who knows what love is. All about you are generous, kind, thoughtful people who are not like you. Admit to being useless and inferior. You have ruined me. For other men I yearn. For you, I have no feelings whatsoever. When we're apart, I can be forever happy. Will you let me be? Yours, Gloria. Just by changing the punctuation, it changes the meaning completely. And this is a true thing that happened in a paper. It's very imperative that punctuation actually becomes just as second nature as anything else you learn at the college, because it really does change things. For instance, a woman without her man is nothing. Depending on where you put the commas, changes the meaning of the sentence. For the boys, a woman, comma, without her man, comma, is nothing. For the girls, a woman, a big M dash, which is that long line, a woman, M dash, without her, comma, man is nothing. See how it changes just by a little punctuation? You've heard the one, let's eat, comma, grandma, or let's eat grandma. We're actually going to put her on the table. Beware of man eating shark. Depending on if you put a hyphen in there or not, is the difference between the shark being a man-eating shark or a man actually eating a shark. So punctuation really does matter. So I'm going to give you a few ways to actually use a comma. The first one is before and after thought. For Canada, the War of 1812 was vitally important, far more important than it was for Britain. Well, the far more important it was for Britain is not really needed. You could have just stayed with, for Canada, the War of 1812 was vitally important, put a period, and be done. But the comma has to go there because the second part isn't truly needed. Surrounding optional information. I gave a cupcake, the one closest to the Dr. Pepper, to Sandy. If you were to take out that middle part, the one closest to the Dr. Pepper, the sentence is still readable. I gave a cupcake to Sandy. So because of that, you want to put commas around each part because you could actually pull it out and it still reads right. In a list of adjectives, my cat is fuzzy, brown, tabby. You'd put a comma between fuzzy and brown. Now, here's how you know if you put a comma between the 2 adjectives. Can you put the word and in there? My cat is fuzzy and brown. If you can put the and there, then you would put a comma there. Before a conjunction. If you don't remember what conjunctions are, that's like and, but, nor, or, like, I don't know if you remember the song, conjunction, junction, what's your function? Okay, Those are conjunctions, and you want to put it before there if after the conjunction there's a noun and a verb. So for instance, I'll go, comma, but you have to tell me the truth. But you have to tell me the truth. But is your conjunction, and then you have to tell is your noun and verb, so you want to make sure you put a comma before that sentence. After an introductory word or phrase. An introductory word or phrase sets the stage for the action. So for instance, meanwhile, comma, she waited for Prince Charming. Meanwhile is your introductory word. Because of the time, comma, I will not be able to attend. Because of the time is an introductory word or phrase. So I will not be able to attend obviously would stand by itself, and that basically is what sets it off. All right. Another thing that people get confused on is semicolons. Keep in mind that colons, that's the two dots, are hard, concrete. They only are used like in items of a list, really, maybe at the end of a salutation, but you don't use them very often. Semicolons get overused too, and there really isn't a lot of places that you use them. Basically, you use them when you have two independent clauses, a place where there really should be a conjunction and a comma. Excuse me. For instance, my cousin loves movies. I love movies more. That's two nouns, two verbs, and so you need to put a semicolon in there to break them up. Even though I would say a comma and a conjunction is stronger, or sometimes just putting a period in there and making it two separate sentences. Another place you might do it is to form a bond between two sentences. I chew lots of gum, semicolon, it whitens my teeth. Because we don't want the it to get lost, we may put a semicolon there to kind of join the ideas together. To protect a list, this is a big one. If I say I traveled to Oaxaca, Mexico, San Diego, California, and Seattle, Washington, and I just use commas all the way through that, basically what happens is Oaxaca and San Diego, California, Seattle, Washington, all of those, they all become equal. They all mean the same thing, and so I don't know where my list is going. Whereas if I put a semicolon after a Oaxaca, Mexico, after the word Mexico, and then I put another one, after California or whatever, it will actually break up so I know which goes together. So San Diego, California go together, and so my semicolon might go after that. However, don't put semicolons before conjunctions. So you would actually have to probably use a comma there because of the conjunction. All right, so don't use a semicolon with conjunctions. And you don't use it before a list. That's where a colon would go. And if the sentence is fine on its own, don't throw a semicolon in there just for the sake of sending on in that. All right. Other things we might use are parentheses, dashes. Parentheses are more or less for optional information or to set something out. Dashes, the M dash, I actually really love the M dash. Can be used just like the colon where it kind of separates things out or for emphasis. There's the M dash and then there's the hyphen. The hyphen's the little teeny one that you put between words, and the M dash is the longer one. Be careful of the hyphen, not overly using it. Don't use it after an ly word. But sometimes you do need it to kind of determine what word you're trying to say. For instance, re-sign and resign, they're spelled the same, but the hyphen might help you so we know what we're talking about. They're used in two or more adjectives like low, budget, or in expressions where words become linked like father-in-law, written words, fractions, like 1/5, that sort of thing. So that's ways that you can use hyphens. And then quotes. Let me just say something about quotes and italics and that sort of thing. Sometimes we don't know where to use them. If the piece of work you're talking about is really long, like a book or a journal that has smaller things in it like chapters and articles, the bigger thing is italicized. The smaller thing is quoted. So, for instance, the article within the journal would be in quotes. The journal's title itself would be italicized. Same thing with magazines. Magazines are the big thing. The articles inside are the small things. So, big, italicized, small, quotes. All right, so hopefully that will help you out a little bit. Also, one important thing to note, in America, we put the period inside the quote, not outside the quote. I see this all the time in papers. Even after I tell people don't do it, they still do it. Quotes always go on the outside of the period in America. So just remember always to do that. And I think more or less that is about all I have for you today. I hope that you're on your way to being a better writer. And if there's any way we can help you, please let us know. God bless you. Have a great day.